Do they outsource the professional trolling? I just have to wonder. People have talked about this, and I honestly don't really know, but I think it's worth speculating about out loud, because it seems that the quote unquote resistance, the empire pretending to push back against the empire that doesn't actually exist, the far leftists on the internet, or the people that are advocating on behalf of the far leftists on the internet, or maybe even people that are just sort of pretending to be the alt-right, except for it turns out they're the alt-psych. Like, turns out they're not actually really even alt-right at all, but they're just trying to make it look like there's alt-right people. It seems that they've gotten really sloppy about how they appear to be realistic, and it just is starting to seem like, what if they're outsourcing this internet traffic to places in other countries? And the reason that I would say that, it's not like I just randomly decided that for no reason because I'm a tinfoil conspiracy. I'm a conspiracy theorist. That Prince of Queens is always saying stuff that isn't true. And he says the word George Soros sometimes. No. Okay, so we know for a fact that there is a lot of artificially stimulated web traffic. Tim Pool has actually been covering that a lot, and that certain outlets got caught, like fully whistle-blown. The whistle was fully blown on them because they were paying for artificial traffic. So we know that's a thing. We also know for a fact that the Democratic Party and their global alliances have been paying people to essentially troll the internet as far back, if not prior to 2016, during the 2016 campaign, which I think was happening in 2015. That was really irritating, and I remember that very specifically because I remember people that I knew in real life, multiple people, I'm talking like 20 or so, who all of a sudden were really, really into defending Hillary Clinton on the internet, but they had no great reason to do it. They just called me a misogynist because I was supporting Bernie Sanders at the time. And then it turns out that, yeah, people were being paid to act like that. And I had been saying that it seemed like these people were being paid. A number of my friends said, yeah, it seems like these people are being paid to do that. And then not long after that, there was a big leak of a Media Matters document. Media Matters being this multinational media organization that coordinates a lot of the corporate leftist blogs and media outlets to have the same narrative at the same time. And they also coordinate a lot of the online campaigns. Allegedly, this is all allegedly. I haven't actually seen the exact news story where Media Matters is caught with their hand in the cookie jar, organizing CNN, Vice News, the New York Times, all to be saying the same thing on the same day. But that is allegedly the main thing that they do. Media Matters was the same place that apparently was working with PR firms to give them a script to use to train individuals to essentially troll the internet with. These PR firms were training individuals to call Sanders supporters misogynists. And Media Matters, it somehow leaked that they had this big strategy for how to undermine the Trump presidency. And it was about a 4-year plan of how they were going to undermine him, and they were going to train all sorts of people to do their bidding on the internet, because there's all sorts of social media people, people like myself that they needed to push back against, and that was released. Now, some people say, oh, this isn't true, this is a conspiracy theory. Okay, well, I think you're dumb, if that's your attitude. Like, I think you're completely dumb. Because these stories have been out for a long time. So if you legitimately think that somebody's dumb for even talking about it, like, we know that they've been hiring people to call people misogynists on the internet for a very long time. if you're still unwilling to actually put two and two together and just you're thinking, oh, well, I think that you're pushing it, you're literally dumb. You're literally unintelligent. And I don't know how you even found my channel. I'm not saying I'm the most highbrow thing in the universe, but like, I don't even know how you use a search function if you're that unintelligent, because this is not hard to put together. So here's what I'm wondering. Assuming that's all true and that there has been these people, and I made a video called the paid trolls have not gone away. I made that video probably well over a year ago, and it revolved around the notion that I had some screen captures sent to me from some people who were normally apolitical, who were posting. This was back when they were trying to say that Donald Trump got caught peeing on hookers in Moscow and they were blackmailing him with it. And this guy who was like a DJ and event promoter in electronic music nightlife, he was posting about Donald Trump and the pee tapes literally every day, to the point where it was obviously very strange. Like, this guy wasn't just thinking that was funny. He was, I mean, that's how it would appear. I don't know. I don't know if somebody was paying him. Like, I'm not going to spread false news or anything, but normally this was somebody that was not interested in politics. He was an event promoter and an electronic music DJ. So that's the exact opposite of somebody who's actually interested in political scandals. And yet he was posting literally every day about the PP tapes. And then at the same time, we know for a fact that the people who spread that type of information, you know, anti-Trump information, they do definitely pay people to post on the internet. We also know for a fact that they were doing that. So it wasn't hard to assume that there was a natural evolution. But see, that guy actually was a real person. He knew thousands of people on Facebook, you know. The person that linked me to him told me that this is exactly who this guy is. This is how I know him. And it seemed believable that this person was real, right? Well, the thing is now, after the midterms and, you know, the possibility that Trump is going to be impeached and removed from office, now that it goes down to essentially zero, you know, I can't imagine that the Democratic Party and their global alliances with the corporate multinationals think that it's probably all that good of an idea to spend a huge deal amount of money actually paying real citizens to troll the internet, which we know that they did. We know that they were paying real people to actually do this and basically argue on Clinton's behalf on the internet, pretending that they really felt Bernie Sanders supporters were misogynists. They were theoretically and pretty demonstrably calling their own friends misogynists for supporting Bernie Sanders for money, right? We know that that was happening, but that probably cost a lot. It probably costs a lot to pay individuals to turn on their friends, right? So now what I'm thinking is that if they're going to hire people to post stuff on the internet, they're probably going to outsource it. And it's going to be people that, like, you can give them a really shoddy template of a script, the type of thing to say in the YouTube comment section, and just tell them to go at it, try to get under YouTubers' skin. So I had that just yesterday, and I'm just wondering, is this some guy in some foreign nation? Like, is this some guy in India or in the Middle East or in Eastern Europe or in South America, and he doesn't actually speak English very well, and they told him, hey man, why don't you, you know, they said to tell Prince of Queens and any of these YouTubers, tell them, why don't you ever criticize the right wing? tell them, I used to be a fan of your channel, but I now think that you are like all the other ones. You never criticize the right wing, but you say that you are a centrist. Or sometimes they'll say things like, they'll just call me a conservative. They say, why don't you conservatives, you conservatives are so hypocritical. This guy in particular was saying, I thought conservatives hated identity politics or something. And it's like, okay, first of all, I actually never said that I was a conservative. And I actually made an entire video called, quote unquote, I hate identity politics debunked, in which I talked about how it's a kind of silly argument to say that you don't like identity politics, because nobody likes identity politics until they are forced to defend their own identity. That's what I said. And I also don't self-identify as a conservative. Now, I don't know, maybe this person who left this comment that I'm putting on the screen, maybe they were sincere, and maybe they just don't know anything about my channel, and they felt compelled to share their thoughts, getting everything wrong that they're talking about. Maybe. That's definitely a very high likelihood that that's the case. But on the same token, I really think it would be naive of people to believe that there's a possibility that there's never going to be a huge influx of foreign people speaking with broken English trying to talk about politics on English-speaking channels and blogs in the comments, if there hasn't been that already. I mean, like, people say, oh, well, there's the Russian trolls, and there's a... You know, have they been accusing that of being a problem because they're planning on outsourcing their trolling? Because for the most part, you've been able to... I can usually tell when it's a real person or not. Like, it's not that difficult if you're good at looking at the internet to notice that this is a Facebook account that was probably made within the past, 6 months or so, and that they actually speak in a way that is intelligible and, sort of makes sense. I would just say it would be very naive to assume that these people are going to continue to make any sense, to the point where it's like, okay, they're hiring some really, really cheap internet trolls at this point. But clearly I'm a conspiracy theorist. No one would ever do that. Except for we know that they do. No, they wouldn't. Except for we know that they do.